loved Michael. He's a sweetheart, man. But as a musician, he was a great bass player. He really was. He was one of those bass players that could play a lot of notes, but his groove was like kind of like waves, where a lot of bass players got to go boom, 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 you know. But he'd go, you know, he'd get this thing going, man, where he's played a lot, but it sounded great, you know. And lots of times you're telling the bass player, come on, man, don't play so much, jeez. But Michael just always had that wave thing going, which I really liked. And he was a great singer, and he really had extraordinary ears.
Well, when I think of Michael Bany, I think of the way I look at a band. It's the same way I look at sports. I'm a big sports fan, and my kids now play sports. I'm so proud of them because they're learning the team concept. As a drummer, there's nothing I can do but support the other players. I think I'm a good drummer because my goal is to make them sound better. And that's the kind of player Michael Bany was. He was always listening to everything I did to make sure he and I were in sync.
Brothers definitely won. Wheels, you know, that was his big gig. And that's where, you know, he took off with a lot of neat things. He went on a big 60-city tour with Craig Fuller, Eric Kaz. He got his feet wet with that, and he really loved that. Michael would he heard the theme song for Romeo and Juliet on the radio. I think he's in the 5th grade, 11 years old. Hears it on the radio, goes to our piano, and just starts playing. He played the song. It's like, who does that?
In spite of the fact that Mike was a bass player with the bands that he was with, he was an excellent vocalist, he was an excellent musician, he was a pianist, he was a guitarist. It was not that he had to play bass by any means. He had the talent to play any instrument he wanted to play.
Michael was funny. He was very talented. He played with Wheels, and then he played with the Goshorn Brothers. He was a funny guy, but he had the heart of gold. He was so genuinely sweet, but he was a really good bass player.
Mike was such a great player, had such a beautiful ear. I mean, he was one of the best piano tuners that I've ever known. Groups would come to town and ask for him specifically because when he tuned the piano, it was tuned. We had a lot of plans while Mike was in the group. We put together that live album, and after that, we wanted to get Mike more involved because he was a good writer, great singer, and just one of the sweetest guys that I've ever known. He was a great guy, and we had a lot of big plans and things we wanted to do. But one night I walked out of the club and he had just left like 2 minutes before me, 4 minutes before me or something. And we usually walked out together, but I was involved talking to a friend of mine, and I said, I'll be out with you in a minute. And by the time I got out there, he was laying right next to my Jeep, had been shot. I was so surprised I thought he was kidding, because Mike was a big joker, you know what I mean? But it was like 10 below zero, and I said, this is going a little far beyond the pale, you know, to make a joke. And when I went to get him up off the ground, I realized that he had been shot. And I later had to sell that Jeep, couldn't look at it anymore. But yeah, that really took a lot of the wind out of the sails for Main Street, for Cincinnati, and definitely for our group. We weren't feeling musical for a little while after that.